Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the second edition of FFCC here in Riyadh. Did you all have a nice lunch? Go on, a bit louder. You did? Amazing, fantastic. It was good. It was a fantastic spread, as if we didn't have enough food to try next door already. It's brilliant, fantastic stuff. We've got an amazing panel session on the way for you next, all about creating value and are you meeting your consumers' expectations? That's what we're going to be talking about. Please welcome up our moderator for this session. We have Gabrielle F. Metha, founder and CEO of Restaurant Secrets, Inc. We also have our amazing panelists, Ahmed Al-Ajami, chairman and founder Takara Group Hospitality, Fadi Sahal, business director 1PM Franchising, Matteo Ramos, chief executive officer, Food Fest Holding, Phil Broad, senior vice president, F&B, Al-Ghanem Industries. I got a little support group over there. And Sharif M. Al-Sharif, Chief Executive Officer, Alayan Food Division. Please welcome all our panelists and moderators. And who do I need to give my microphone to? There we go. And I need to give you mine. There you go. So you all have one. Carry on.
Sharif, you get the end, buddy.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to see people come back after that amazing lunch we all had. And it's worth it, I can tell you, because I've got an amazing group of gentlemen. We've had a lovely conversation before we're bringing it out to you. It's been screened. We've done our internal conversations on what we're going to speak, not speak, and you're going to take some nuggets back today. So, starting with our topic, customer expectations. I think we all agree that in any business, if you don't know your customer, if you don't know your market, if you don't know who you're selling to, you could just land up selling product after product, failing, and trying the same thing again and again. So my question to the panel first would be, how do you enter a market? What do you research? What strategies do you develop before you even say what your product would be, what your customer encounters would look like? How do you even know what your customer's expectation is? It's already so difficult to do it in one market, and most of you operate in multiple markets. So does a product change? Does a strategy change? Does a loyalty program change? I think I'm going to ask Matteo to answer that first.
Going to start with me, huh?
Good, put it on.
Can you hear me?
Start with technology.
Phil said start with technology. That's a good idea. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Pleasure to be on the panel with this amazing group of industry luminaries. I'm so pleased to be here. So we're talking about market entry. I think that's a question or a problem that most everyone in this room has dealt with before. If you've been in this room, you came into the market, and it was a difficult situation or a difficult transition for you in the beginning. So we were talking in a group about identifying the financial benefit of going into the various markets in the GCC earlier. Some of the panelists, we discussed how we look at the studies from Ingora to Nielsen to studies that are provided to us by our suppliers, by venture capital or PE firms coming to us and say, hey, there's an industry, there's an opportunity in this market for this type of business, and you can fill that niche. So that's the first step, of course, is identifying the financial business case for it. The second point of it is to go and analyze the consumer. Get on the ground, meet the consumer. Sharif was talking about focus groups earlier with us. Meet the consumer, go dine with the consumer, understand exactly at the ground level what the consumer is preferring, and particularly across the various stratifications of age and gender and modality that's preferred from the consumer. Next is the most important part. You can do all the research you can. You can find the opportunity that you think is just going to be a flourishing garden of financial opportunities, but you have to find the right horse to ride to go into battle. This is a people business. The two things I always say is this business is about people and food. People and a great product. You have to find the right person, the entrepreneurial type, the someone from the new generation who's going to go in, put in the hours, and most importantly, put their heart into the business, be authentic, and deliver something to this consumer that no one has ever seen before. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense. And I remember the focus group part, which is interesting because I think each one of you said that focus groups are still very important, the old-fashioned way to do things. But what is a person who doesn't come with that R&D resources, a company that doesn't have the backing of all that? My business is serving a client who goes in with gut instinct and needs to find out if my sushi is the right product for this market. So I have limited resources. My clients have limited resources, unlike the large giants. I think maybe I'm going to ask you to answer that, Fadi. How do people who don't have those resources, how would they understand the customer expectation, and what kind of trial and error exists in that? When do we even out? When do we know we really know our customer? And once we know the customer, what's the next level we go with that customer?
I think the definition of we are lacking resources no longer exists these days. As Matteo have said, as Sharif have said in our discussion outside, there are different resources that we can utilize. Some of them are target groups, some of them are specialized consulting groups that will give you all the data that are required. Even on a Saudi level, you have from Foodix and their products, there's plenty of access to the data. The other option is this industry talks to each other. This industry supports each other with the data, supports each other with the information. So talk to your partners, talk to your colleagues, talk to the other CEOs, the other operators, understand how the market accessibility is. Trial and error is a very important aspect. And I think as operators, we are often built with ego inside of us, and this ego somehow takes us towards saying, we're not doing anything wrong, we're doing everything right. But this is what differentiates a great brand from a brand that is just failing away by saying, no, this product isn't working because of 1, 2, 3, and let's jump to correcting this.
Very true. And since we are focusing on the Saudi market, what I'm learning, because I've come in from Dubai, and what I'm learning is that you have your territories, you have different customer segmentation and mentalities in each territory. So how does a product that did well in Riyadh, in this territory, how does it go to the level, the tier 3 market, for example? Do you do the same strategy when you go out to other Saudi markets, or do you spend time understanding that? Maybe I would like to ask Ahmed that question, because Ahmed is the one person on this table that has locally grown, homegrown brands and has done a great job with it compared to franchises coming in. So I'd love to know what you faced when you took your Takara brand from the market that wasn't price conscious to, let's say, the Eastern province, where it's a more price conscious market. How did you understand your customer expectations? What challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them?
First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here as well. Regarding your question, we have to understand that the Saudi market differentiates between each province. So if I want to serve Takara, which is the Japanese restaurant in the south, that wouldn't be effective. Now, looking at dishes that can be served in Riyadh, I understand that Japanese restaurants here serve raw food, and it takes a good percentage from their sales. While looking at the Eastern province, people over there looks for much more of cooked food. That being said, before we started, or when we were starting, we focused on understanding the market through the people, the local taste, what they wanted over there. And instead of looking at, hey, it's a Japanese restaurant, it should have raw dishes. Additionally, when we looked at the taste, we ensured that we conduct focus groups, like you gentlemen said earlier. That being said, having all that in the background was enabled us to be able to reach to the success that we have in the Eastern province, while understanding what socio-economical level that we are targeting. So here, I was talking to the gentleman earlier about Mayazo and Nozomi. I believe that such restaurants have an average of 400 per person per check, while we come in at much lower price range just for the fact that we are catering to the Eastern Province where people are much more conscious or much more price sensitive. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And my thoughts were racing when you were speaking because the one thing we've heard in common throughout all the groups and the conversations we've had is the product is so important, that ultimately how you serve your product and the quality of your product is so important regardless the price point of it. How does that impact customer expectations across demographics as well as the age? Now we're serving two kinds of customers. It was a millennial first and the baby boomers. Now we have the third one, which is the Gen Z fighting with the millennial. And they're so similar in many ways, but they're so different. So maybe Sharif, you can help me understand how does a product like yours that has been around for a while, has been doing things the way they've been doing, how do they transition? We were talking earlier about Starbucks, and my 19-year-old son goes there for a whole different product than I go. I go for coffee, he goes for things I'd never even heard of before. So they've done a great job of offering, evolving their products to the markets they're serving. How does your company use that information, the challenging information, not only across Saudi being different in different territories, but also the age groups you're serving? How do you strategize that?
Age actually is becoming much more important for us than anything else. We used to address young adults, young families. Today, unless we start talking to teens, we're not going anywhere. And the amazing formula is to how you can sell a whole meal at 20 riyals, for example, that people perceive as not great value, but they can buy a cup of coffee at 19. So now the value proposition has changed drastically. And people see things in a very different way at the same brackets of prices, or they can even see much more value in something more expensive than less. Now, how we evolve on this, first, we keep researching, we keep seeing what people want, but today when we say people, we say different age groups of people, what they want. We talk females and males. We no longer look at one category or a group of people. So we subcategorize all of this, and this is how we look at it. We actually, in 2024, started having different promotions in different places. So we no longer go with promotions across the entire kingdom, but we're thinking now and reevaluating if we go in Eastern with something, Western with something else, and in Riyadh with a third thing. So between price points and finding the right taste and the right appealing product to different segments of the market and the consumers, I think this is the biggest challenge that we are facing now. And whoever is going to find the solution for this the fastest will be definitely a top winner in the market. It's key for today.
Great. I think you're going to be the fastest one to mitigate that, right? With Wendy's, let's talk about the same concept of Wendy's. I know that in Dubai, it had a comeback and it had to rebrand and reinvent itself. And it did really well. It's got a market share that it did not have earlier. So how does that work with Wendy's or the other brands that you hold right now, Phil?
Firstly, good to meet you all this afternoon. I'd like to thank my team there who come to watch and hopefully learn from everybody else. Look, I think the only way that you can differentiate in a very busy market is with your people. You know, we can define our brand. We can define our brand in Dubai. We can define our brand here. We can define it in Qatar, etc. But unless we have the best people in the market to serve the customers, we'll never win, right? And so we've been around a long time in Dubai, and our people have stayed with us for 8 or 9 years. Here, I have people that we opened up this market with who've been with, actually one has been here for 11 years, right? So even before we bought the company. And so here in this market, I'm proud to say we have 6 Saudi managers running our businesses here in a very short period of time, which again, people makes a difference for our customers. So I think I hear what everyone says about the brand positioning, the product, but unless we deliver quality people and quality product, we'll never win on whatever concept we're in. And too often we see businesses fail because they don't clean their stores. They don't give great customer service. The product's not hot or served cold. It's meant to be cold. And so I think this market, particularly in Saudi, is going more and more value, but value with quality. And people understand value for money. And I think we can just all go down the route of providing a cheap, low-value product. We have to provide a great quality product at a good price. And the classic for us is, you know, with our Costa business, moving to Costa, right? We launched in February the Jazeen coffee into our business for national interest, for localization product. It has been phenomenal. Both brewed and cold brew, and now espresso, we've just launched into Riyadh. It has really connected with the local people. That's not the Costa brand, right? That's a localization of the brand to drive traction and drive loyalty to our customers. And we've also launched with Chef Rakan, who was the #1 chef in 2019 and 2020. #1 Saudi chef has just produced 3 fantastic Arabic products for us, which are just flying off the shelves. So we have to stay relevant, right? And we've had Wendy's for a long time. We've continually evolved. We've changed the style of the brand. We've changed the design of the brand. The products have stayed pretty much the same. You launch LTOs, but at the end of the day, we win on people, and we will continue to win on people and be proud of the people who work for us. And Saudi is no different. And all of us here, so there's one Saudi here, but we have a responsibility to train people for the future of this country. And that's my job, and my job is to find the right resources, the right people to deliver our brand no matter what country we're in.
Yeah, that's so true, because when you were talking, I was thinking about 28 years back when I came to Dubai. We only had the Burger Kings, the KFCs, the Pizza Hut, and we were one of the companies that brought in the homegrown and had to struggle with shift of mentality to support homegrown brands, because the habit was to just bring a franchise. And then Dubai shifted towards homegrown. And today it's history what Dubai is doing with its brands. And I see the same thing happening here, as well as I hear each one of you gentlemen speak about the importance of shifting our brand towards homegrown and local, and using local customer sentiments to build that. I'd love to know from each one of you, because at least 4 of you hold more franchises in your portfolio than homegrown. What's the plan on that new customer personalities that are coming through? Saudis have been coming to Dubai for ages for F&B. Now, Saudi's building a market where they want to retain. It's a retention market to not let them come on the weekends to Dubai and, you know, have everything served here. How will you understand that customer and stop that customer from moving out and leaving your franchises? I'm not saying that would happen, God forbid, but if that is where the market is going, and I've seen already over my last 28 years, what are your strategies in place, or what are you talking internally in different departments to be ready for that? And whoever, I think you want to go first, yeah.
Look, I think we should be proud of what Dubai has done, but Dubai has become an exporter of brands. Right? I had the Noodle House when I worked for Jumeirah Hotels. We exported that to 18 different countries on a franchise model, and you're seeing more and more brands come out like that. We have an incredible team that work for us, who have all the skills to actually run our own concepts. And or we acquire a brand that is working really well in the market, that's run by an entrepreneur, and expand that across the markets. And I think there is a real mentality within this market, within Kuwait, within the UAE, for entrepreneurs to start new concepts that need more money, seed money, to expand it. And I think that's the way, because then you connect with local people, you drive connectivity, and you put the skill set of a corporate organization behind that, and I think there can be phenomenal success.
Totally agree, and I like that part about training the people for what's coming. That's really cool. I think you want to say something, Matteo. I can actually see your mind working.
Well, I figure you're going to come to me after Phil, so just going down the line. I'll do two segments. So the first segment is, I think, the more challenging point that you mentioned, which was the adaptation and localization of already established franchise brands. So COVID was one big impact to the franchise brand market. Of course, delivery changed the entire modality of how these brands worked. Now the current political situation is accelerating the move in the consumer's eyes to consider and to move towards local brands. A recent Mingora survey that was published in February out of Dubai showed that the consumer portion, it was 60% of the consumers before this recent political issue arose, considered dining with local brands as a method to support the local economy. That number is now up to 68 to 69% here in Saudi Arabia. It went up to about 66% in UAE. So the move away from franchise brands has been going on for a long time, and it's going to be a race to adaptation and a race to localization for those of us who really want to continue to operate Western franchise brands in the market. Now, what are we doing? So now we have Caribou. We have Caribou Bahrain, UAE, and now we're going to be taking Caribou over here in Saudi. Our first location is open at Red Sea Mall. Like Phil said, he has his own chef preparing their foods. We're moving to a complete fresh food model with Caribou, with local products, sustainably and organically raised products here from Saudi that will actually prepare in the store and serve to you. So we'll be moving away from prepackaged sandwiches, prepackaged salads, all of that, croissants baked in the stores, sandwiches prepared from farms and whatever produce we can get locally, and proteins locally, and so on and so forth. I think that the consumer is going to this direction. I just don't see continually this consumer and the way and that it's advancing and becoming considerably more sophisticated is going to tolerate the processed food culture of the past, which is the franchise Western business model. Imported food, frozen for a year, fried out of a fryer and served into a plastic container. I think those days are over. And the move forward is going to be organic, in-restaurant, country source product. Back to the the entrepreneur that was raised locally, which is what you do in your business and what Phil was talking about. We're moving that way. We're not really looking to take more franchises in our business. We're looking to find hungry entrepreneurs that are Saudi, that are Bahraini, that are Emirati, and help facilitate their growth into the world, take their brands outside of the GCC, take their spirit and their knowledge elsewhere. One, they're more flexible in the early stages on how to build a brand and adapt it to different markets. And second, what I think is the most important thing, one, in marketing and brand creation today in this day and age, is they're authentic. You know, it's not a prepackaged box of marketing material that comes from the US or whichever country your brand is originating from. It's something that comes from their heart, and I think the consumer now really, really senses that and really, really rewards that behavior. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Does anybody want to add to this? Because I already have the next question ready.
Yes, I believe one important point that we all have mentioned is there is a transition happening from Western brands will tell us what the market wants towards Western brand needs to sit down and understand what the market wants. In 2016 in Magnolia Bakery, we launched what was considered back then a sin. We launched a tres leche cake here in Saudi Arabia. And it was a shift from the banana pudding that the US kept insisting that it should work in your market. The term should work in your market should no longer exist in concepts. The day we launched the milk cake, the next day I had it as the top 3 bestseller across the business in Saudi Arabia.
Sorry, what year was that?
2016. Yeah. And so we need to understand the consumer. We need to understand the trends. Global franchises now are opening a lot of owners' representation offices in this region to understand more what the consumer wants. Because otherwise, and we've seen it in Saudi, 2015 to date, a lot of what was considered back then as the landmarks of Western dining barely still exist in the market and shifted towards more localized products.
Very true, and I just want to, when you were speaking, I remembered Clinton Street Baking from New York. We brought them into Dubai, and our role was to give them local intelligence, see what product needs to be fixed. We've brought Kenny Rogers back the 3rd time now, And we know that the market is no longer an American market, it's an Asian market. So how do you evolve your product? I so agree with that. I think Ahmed doesn't have that challenge at all because his products are already being planned for the local market. How do you relate to this question? Do you find that a challenge, or did you already feel there was a need that customers wanted something local and fresh? And do you have your next 5-year plan already, in place and not sharing with the rest of these people trying to find answers?
Thankfully, we do have our plans for the future. Now, one of the things that we truly realized here is that people are looking for local concepts. And people continue to support local concepts. Whether we're talking about Riyadh, whether we're talking about Eastern Province, whether you go south or north, you'll find that consumers are much more now, or newer generations are much more going toward local concept stamping and franchisees. Now, that being said, also, having franchised restaurants come into Saudi, having franchisees localizing their concepts also help such a community. Help them in a way that we're training new Saudis. Help them in a way that they're potentially growing within I would say, a local taste. And I've seen that as a kid. I remember I was in Egypt with my mom, and McDonald's was selling falafel burger. So this was something that I realized back then in time, is that you always need to localize your concepts toward the people that you're selling to. And that is something I believe that these amazing gentlemen realized. And this is something that is happening in the market as well. And I truly agree with Mr. Matthew regarding focusing on local concepts and growing those ones and taking them potentially toward being franchised globally.
So good. I'm also one of those who goes around and sees McDonald's have always a product for each country, each region they're in, and they've always been very smart about that, right? Knowing where they're entering compared to the others that lose and then learn from it. I really want to talk about AI. It's the thing to do, isn't it? How does AI get used in your organizations to understand customer expectation? Or are we relying on our partners, like Foodix, for example, and the rest, who are tech companies and who invest more and give us the support we need? Do you think that there is a whole breed of companies that will provide us with the AI we need and solutions, or do we still need to invest in our own? Is it even possible to invest in AI to understand our customers?
I think that it is not wise for us at this time to adopt AI internally. And at the same time, the amount of companies that are coming as third parties to provide their services through AI is amazing. Everybody is working into this now. It's top of mind. Everybody's using it. We started using a little bit of AI just to have algorithms to run faster our analysis in order for decision-making to happen. Nevertheless, using AI for quality of the products, for consistency of the products, using it for making sure of the accuracy of the product, leaving the restaurants in the right packaging, and then not to miss anything. We didn't think of even investing in something like this, but rather there are so many companies who are focused on this. They're spending on this, coming to us with the latest technology. They keep improving it all the time. Therefore, it's always great to work with more professional people in their areas to help us excel in these areas. So both ways, but I think at this time, with all the revolution and evolution happening with the AI, I would tend 80% to still depend on third parties until we see where this is going to go.
I agree. Thank you for reaffirming my belief in that we don't need to spend the money that we have into AI. We've got lots of solutions. I think you want to say something on that, Phil.
In Wendy's, we've just launched under the drive-through lane where we're going to actually be listening to what you're saying in your car, so we can predict what you say. I'm joking. But the reality is, if you look at drive-through technology coming through in the States. I mean, the biggest challenge some of the markets have is having a conversation with an order post when you don't speak Arabic or you want to speak French or want to speak Italian. And I've seen some technology in the US that is just groundbreaking that will change the drive-through lane of the future. And we know that we bring a lot of people into the country here or into Kuwait or the UAE or wherever, and they don't necessarily speak Arabic straight away. The predominance here is Arabic speaking. And to be able to go up a post and talk and translate it for the person at the other end is fantastic. So I think there are certain instances where AI will help us in our industry to just improve speed, customer connection. But the other areas, if you look at some things that you see in airports, Emirates is amazing, right? What some of the things they do. But being able to go up to something and ask them a question, they give you the answer in your language, I think again is something that you can use in our industry. And we know that if we have a host at the door who welcomes people when they come in, they're more likely to come back. So, I've seen speaking hosts that, recognize you and connect with you. And I think those things will help our hospitality industry, but I think we have to be very careful that we don't lose that connection. You look at when you receive an email and someone's used AI to do it, it's AI, not it's a human that's done it, and you lose that connection. So I think there's various instances where it just ruins the experience, but I think AI is coming, and I think we all need to, particularly me at my age, 42, I need to really think about how I educate myself going forward.
Go on.
With AI.
I like the 42 part. I've taken it on record. But I agree with the AI, and also the risk with AI is also a gap in customer expectation, isn't it? Because we generate these images, we use it for marketing. So what if AI was used in marketing to bring the customer in? Has anybody faced that where you scroll through an Instagram page and you see these reels and you see these experiential videos, but when you actually come in, the rest of the departments have not been they don't even know what's going on, and then the product doesn't look the same, the service is not the same. There's a huge shift between AI in marketing and AI in customer encounter support. So can anybody help us understand how we can avoid that, or what's happening in your companies to avoid that? How are your marketing strategies in place?
I think we need to agree that, as Matteo said in the beginning, we are a people's business. We depend on people in our organizations, and we serve people. Now, AI can help us a great deal in the backgrounds, in the front, but it will never substitute the interaction, the people interaction together. It can help a cashier to do his job better. It can help a hostess to do better. It can help us to recognize a lot of things in the drive-thru about the customer walking in. But I think human interaction for the coming, again, 10 to 15 years is a necessity. I'm not against AI, and I'm not against technology. And I am 36, not 42, so I like this. But I think that this human interaction will have to stay there.
So I'm with you on that, totally with you on that, especially the 36 part, very, very, very accurate reading on that. But my point was more on, I agree with you, it should be at the back end to facilitate and help, but the reality is we're using AI on the front end, which is to bring in the customer and forgetting about the expectations. We've raised it up to here, and sometimes it falls down. So I was trying to understand more of, does this happen only with the new entrepreneur, the one who's an amateur and just trying to get his market share through easy methods of marketing? Or do your companies also go through that? Have you had those moments of risking those mistakes of using AI and then finding a big gap?
Could you clarify exactly what technique of AI you're discussing?
Imagery, videos, product enhancement.
Okay, so you're talking about
Marketing.
techniques in when they brush up or filter or make a product look better. That's something we've been dealing with in this business for a long time. The picture always looks better than the food, as everyone knows, and particularly in fast food. And it just creates a big customer disconnect. So, I mean, you can't do that. You have to have your product at the end stage look much like it. I mean, practically identical or realistically identical to what it looks like at the theoretical stage and the marketing stage. Again, like Phil said, if you, I'm sorry, like Sheree said, you know, the connection is what really is important, and the consumer loses connection with the brand if the consumer feels like the brand is misleading them, and it's just a human factor that comes into the business. So don't lie, don't filter too much. Don't filter yourself like you do on my Facebook, like I do on my Facebook, because the consumer won't appreciate that.
So you're not 36 then?
Are we, is it a race to see who can say that they're the youngest, or what's the? So I want to go back to something Phil said really quick, because you did make a joke about the talking drive-through box, and McDonald's in the US was running a 3-year program partnered with IBM to try to make AI work through the drive-through box, and they just canned it in June. They gave up. The consumers didn't trust it. There were too many errors, too many mispronunciations, understanding of accents. There's just something about the human-human connection, about when you look at somebody and you express what you want to eat and how you want it done and how they look on their face and what their eyes say and what their mouth say, that makes this business special. And I certainly hope they can't replace me with an AI robot anytime soon.
Look, I think there's a very important message in what you said. If we go back 20 years and we scan the majority of the popular cafeterias from the borders of the Philippines all the way to LA, you will see one similar burger picture that everyone puts in their store. We see it here in our cafeterias. You walk in, you see that very famous burger bun that looks incredible.
Green lettuce.
Exactly. And then you end up a slab of meat with 2 buns on top and the bottom. AI is still too young for us to discuss it as a primary objective for what comes next for the restaurant industry. And I think we're living in a generation where a chunk of this generation wants to infuse AI in everything we say. It's still too early for us. We have great resources that fetch us all the data we need, all the resources. Complicating things now by enforcing things that aren't tested yet will only lead to trouble for some of the brands that will not be able to handle it properly.
I agree, and you know what's the most encouraging thing that I hear on our panel as well as the others is that we all realize the back to basics, that product, service, human-centric ways of expanding, ways of strategizing, always keeping the customer and the experience, because ultimately we are human ourselves, and the best way to strategize is to put yourself in the shoes of who you're going to serve. And most answers would come from gut, from instinct, from there. And since that is something I'm hearing all the time, it's very encouraging for our industry that we don't need to rely on all of these fast approaches. And we do it the right way, the hard way, is build the right product, the right pricing, understand our market, deliver it in a way that creates repeat encounters, keep in touch with your customer. So that takes us to, let's say we've got all that right, we've understand our customer expectations, we're aligning. How do we, now that we've increased our territory, how do we retain that customer? Now we've got that expectation, we've got that loyalty, we've got the customer on our side. How do we retain? So I'm talking loyalty programs. I'm talking, is that also a wise way, and is it still relevant today to give back, to bring them back in again? Do customers still want that? Are they still, do they have the loyalty mentality to come back, which I think we heard in the panel earlier, percentage will still want to do the same thing if it was done at a better price or with a promotion. Does that seem relevant today?
I'll just refer to something. Loyalty is a great incentive, but I think consumers are being educated to go beyond that. Recent focus group we did a few months back, and it was in Saudi Arabia. And we heard a lot of talk about not only loyalty, but CRM. So we had this lady who was saying, I love the app of this brand because it sends me a notification on my birthday. I love this whatever because it sends me offers different than the one it sends to my husband. So actually, it's no longer, loyalty is becoming standard. You have to do loyalty. It's amazing when I wake up in the morning and I open, I want to buy a ticket, and I suddenly find Emirates Airlines telling me, or Saudi Airlines telling me, oh, you win this, you're upgraded, it's becoming standard. Everybody's doing it. But again, the connection on capturing special dates for you, capturing your style of life, your way of life, I think this is becoming now a necessity, and it will become more and more necessary. And going back to AI, while this is all emotional and human interaction based, but using AI will just make life much faster and stronger when we come to approach these interactions. And this is where I see the big part of AI coming, is how to make us go faster in decision making, faster in analyzing and understanding behaviors, and our own menus even sometimes, in order to take the right decisions. And I think fast, everybody would agree to me now, is becoming a mandatory thing. We cannot sit and relax and think once and twice and 3 times about a decision to be taken.
What I'm hearing is the extra mile. You're talking about loyalty being not just rewarding back to come to you, but going the extra mile to do things out of the box to show the human touch, not just a standard run-of-the-mill message that I know sounds like AI in the morning.
The challenge is that it's no longer the extra mile. It used to be the extra mile. Now it is a standard expectation.
So the expectations have gone to, we're already at that level. Why do you think that has happened, though? The expectations have gone to a level where have we raised the bar, or is it the new generation that has everything too easy?
You are spot on. It is customer education through fierce competition among people who want to excel and exceed in serving the customer better, using technology as a fast way of communication. So I think of something, I talk to the marketing, we test consumer, we test it very quickly, we launch it on the app, it goes to the consumer through social media or through whoever it is, and then they reply and it is there. This exercise 10, 15 years ago would have taken 3-4 days. 20 years ago, it would have taken 2 weeks.
Brilliant. Now, I totally agree. Is it sustainable, though, when we grow that large, when we have large territories, when we have so many tickets?
We don't have the option, in my opinion. It's just going to keep going, and we have to keep following the race. My opinion, I don't know about the rest of the team, but we don't have an option there.
I think what he said that was profound was that loyalty is no longer a loyalty program, it's a channel of CRM. It's a channel of maintaining that relationship with your consumer, that human connection, and he mentioned his birthday. You know, I mean, I think he really kind of nailed it. And it kind of makes me think and go back to all the loyalty programs that I actually use, which aren't many. I don't really use loyalty because I want stamps on a card to get a discount. There's different various reasons why I use it. And the programs that I use that actually are functional at this, find out why I want to use it, and then push me those offers, not necessarily offers, but those features, and doesn't push me the other ones, you know. And so, back to what you said, AI will help do that on the fly. Like, it'll type you, put you into typography, and figure out what type of consumer are you, and try to get you those offers at a much faster pace. Those contacts, actually. It's not really an offer, it's the contact. It's building the relationship through contacts. The birthday is the simplest one, of course, I think. But then it'll also be able to communicate to you the things that you really want to hear based on your demographic or other profiling techniques that they use. So there, that's my thoughts. Well said, man. Thanks.
I think our phone is the new drug, right? So wake up in the morning, you use it. You go to sleep at night, you use it. I think there's only so much that customers all want on their phone. And you know, you go with one airline, you go with one hotel group because you get the maximum points. You know, hopefully they only go with Wendy's. They don't go with some of the competition. But the reality is the consumer becomes very loyal around one loyalty app. It's no different to, you know, all the delivery engines that are out there. I mean, how many apps can you put on your phone? And so I think how we make sure we create interesting news on an app that is relevant to the consumer will become more and more difficult. And there are people out there today who are at the age of 17, 18, 19, 20, which is younger than anybody else in this room, and all they're doing is working out how they create more loyalty for customers to come through the door. Bigger brains than I've got that will really, I think, change the world. And we'll blink and something will change and loyalty will become so important. And I know that, you know, at the moment, loyalty can work against you because if you're on the phone, and with the geopolitical challenge we have in the world, you keep reminding people that you're there. And if you're in that group that they don't want to deal with anymore, you just keep getting deleted. Thankfully, we're not in that. But I think loyalty is going to be a big challenge. Look at the green one, right? The green brand out there is struggling because it's moved away from being a third place, customer focused, to become a digital transformational business that has to go back again now and look at how they reduce the range and connect with their customers. Brilliant reward app, but people are a little tired of it and don't quite understand how it works. So I think we have to be very careful how it works. We have a great app. It's not bells and whistles, but it delivers every time for our customers. And so just be careful you don't over.
Thank you. I think that is really, I think you've both, or three of you have really hit the nail on the head. So we need to have a connection with the customer. But remember, I have SMSs coming through. I have WhatsApps coming through. I'm blocking people all the time. I think we need more of a pull strategy than a push strategy. And that effectively, in my head, works, for example, Emirates Skywards. You know, I don't even know what I'm supposed to ask for. They're constantly reminding me of what I've earned, what I've got. So I think those companies have got it right, where they understand the CRM to the level of, we don't need to just say hello on your birthday, but we need to pop up on your feed. We need to be investing into, not ourselves, the big data, but the companies that do collect the big data to connect with them for our CRM so that we are in the mind, you know, top of mind when they are doing their regular daily life, when they're looking for food, when they're looking for travel, for the other things. So I think it's very interesting that we understand that loyalty is not just about rewarding someone coming back, but also being present, but without invasion of privacy and without wasting our money on sending out things that are never going to be seen through all the noise we have on our phones. And that's where we live. We live on our phones. Well, it's been very interesting. I think we have a few minutes left for questions now. Please, if anybody's got a question for any of our panelists, yes, please. Do you have one? No. You can have one. It's on.
Thank you very much. The question is more about the panel itself than is creating value aligning your offering with customer expectations. What will be for you guys, for the Saudi market, in 5 words, your unique selling point? So, for example,
the question is, what is our unique selling point in each one of our
yes, for the Saudi market.
philosophies?
So how you will align your offering with the customer expectation by a unique selling point?
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Amazing people, great food, speed.
I think it would be great innovation at the right price.
Yeah, I would just summarize it to 3 words: local, people, and value. These are the most important parts at the moment.
I agree with you. I would say for us, it's been Saudi made.
What they said, the great product at a great price across the product spectrum is super important. But I think number one nowadays is authenticity. Be something, stand for something, have an identity that's just not that the competitor doesn't have. That's not something out of a franchise box. Have an identity. Be local. Be truly local. Don't just put it on your marketing materials. Be authentically local and tell that story to the consumer. I think that's what's most important with the generation going forward.
Phil is putting me on the spot. My question is that we are in Saudi Arabia market, right? We've been talking about international brands, local brands, right? How it is you're going to make it very relevant for Saudi consumers, with international brands and local brands in coming years, so that they stay loyal with our offerings, what we do. That's for everybody.
Good question, Kumar. Thank you very much. He's my head of training, by the way. Look, I think I interestingly met this guy, Chef Rakan, a couple of days ago, who's doing all this food development for me. And he is creating a food concept, a restaurant that's going to open in Neom called Begin. That's an interesting name. And it's actually, he is forecasting what Saudi food will be in 2030. For the 2030 vision. So he's trying to predict where it's going. I think that's what we need, more entrepreneurs who are really thinking about how will flavors travel through this country, how will the country evolve over time, because it's just got such incredible growth, and people need to really sit and think. I mean, MBS has got incredible vision for 2030. What's our vision for where it'll be? And I think it's down to us to kind of help do that and predict and help train, evaluate as we move forward. But I think it's going to be an incredible journey for those that are still here in 2030. But we have to look in the crystal ball every day to see how we can be better than we are today.
Well done, Phil.
Thank you. Just a quick question for the panelists. You guys are all decision makers in your own organizations. Who do you guys listen to the most now? Who's influencing your decisions? Is it the head of ops or head of IT? Or is it your marketing guru? Who's playing that second fiddle?
So I just quickly, I mean, I'm sitting here, my team is here. We opened a brand new restaurant yesterday. I got a nudge at about 8 o'clock saying it's getting extremely busy. I went to that store, 4 of my team were there already. My head of marketing was talking to every customer in that store, listening to what they're saying about our food, the experience. Look, customer's king in this whole world that we operate in. If we're customer-centric, that's what counts. Operations will tell me something, marketing will tell me something, IT will tell me something. But last night, there was genuine feedback for us from our customers on how we were doing. And I think we just have to listen to the customer every day to help us guide through the growth spurt of this country. And opening a store and you're just, I mean, it's like a Western movie, right? You've got your wagon and everything's around you and everyone wants to hit you at every angle possible. You have to listen to the customers and help them through the process. So customer's king, right?
I think that's a utopic answer. I think at the end of the day, my question is, inside of your organizations, who's helping you make those decisions? Everybody wants to listen to the client. We can't. Today you have to make financial decisions, operational decisions that end up benefiting the customer in one way. Who's that person right now?
Definitely, I would echo him. So I'm still saying that the customer is what we should be talking with. I visit restaurants 5 days a week from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. And I take every day a different function. But to come back to what you're exactly saying, I definitely 80% of the time listen to my restaurant managers.
Look, it's not utopia eventually. We know that customers are the ones who are driving our businesses. But as Sharif said, our in-store people are the ones who are telling us exactly what's happening around. Obviously, we can all sit in our offices and say that we know best and say that we know what the market needs. But eventually, it's your market makers that are right there in the store in operations that will tell you exactly what each consumer. Now, obviously, you take this idea and then you start shifting it across everyone to make sure it's feasible, and then you get it launched. So in a way, everyone has a say, everyone has a part to play, but it all starts with your store team.
So, and I agree with everybody here in the panel. Reality is the customer is the boss. They can fire you simply by choosing to spend their money elsewhere. And in my organization, one of the things that we truly focus on is data analysis. And our data is focused on gathering that information from clients, and that's where we focus. And in terms of financials, again, there's nothing more better than well-calculated numbers. And that's how my organization works.
Appreciate the question and the pushback. That was well done. Like you said, there's a million people in your ear all the time. There is the customer feedback that you get, and everyone's right, the customer is the boss. I don't think anyone's going to ever argue with that in any industry. Operations has their own point of view. Marketing has their own point of view. Everyone in the organization has a point of view and a position that they want to push. Who's in my ear? Well, I'm in my ear constantly. It's like, what am I doing wrong? I got to get into the stores. I got to see what's going on. I got to validate the feedback that I'm getting from the store managers, from the ops team, from the marketing team. But I got to go do it myself. I go to the stores. I work in the stores. I work a service. Unannounced visits are the most useful tool any restaurant executive could ever have. Unannounced service, run a service in your stores. Go work your kitchens for a service unannounced on a Friday night and see what's going on, and you're going to see things that your ops team will never tell you, your marketing team will never tell you, that your data will never tell you, and unless you go and live it, you're not going to be able to make the right decision. But I trust myself, I trust my instincts. This is a people-led business, and I bet on myself. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for all your questions, and thank you, gentlemen, for such insightful input. Thank you, Minnie and George, for yet another success. Thank you for the invitation to Saudi.
Thank you so much to all our amazing panelists on that one. And I love the fact you brought up the expectation versus reality photographs. But it's not always AI. We still have teams of food stylists, creators, photographers, and videographers to thank. So just for fun, I'll ask you guys, because I used to do food styling myself, ice cream is a nightmare to work with under hot studio lights. Any idea what we might use instead of ice cream? Mashed potatoes. Those jars full of milkshakes stacked with cakes and everything, it's not ice cream, it's mashed potatoes. Those beautiful swirling dark coffee in the milk things you get, coffee or not coffee? Soy sauce. It's not coffee. And those roasted chickens, it's all airbrushed and painted. It's not real. Some little tricks of the food styling trade for you. What a lovely photo, guys. Amazing. Okay, thank you so much once again. Amazing panel session.